Oh, yeah. Five-star. LSU. I said, they ain't ready for the LSU. No, they ain't ready for the LSU, huh? They ain't ready for the LSU. No, they ain't ready for the LSU. We the best in the league if you looking for talent. LSU going hard, but we beat Alabama. Then we going out to Florida. Drown the Gators. Everybody getting bucked when we step in the stadium. This the LSU anthem. You know it's a hit. You don't know another rapper two-step like this. See me screaming out the window, yelling purple and gold. I'm an LSU fan, girl. You know how we roll now. Back and back it on up. Hey, 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 way down in the back.
We live, and it's that week, Zach.
Wait a minute, Reagan. Is it Christmas?
I mean,
It's getting close.
I mean, look at this magnificent tree behind me.
Show us, Reagan. I want to see the whole thing.
What better backdrop than an LSU Christmas tree, man? I mean, look at this thing. Look at the details. Look at that. I mean, look at this thing. I mean, this is elite tier stuff we got going on here. The whole tree. We got an LSU Santa Claus, bro. LSU Santa.
Man.
I mean,
what they say, Christmas comes early in the South.
Yeah, man. What better backdrop to bring in the season, man? And to talk about that week.
It is that week.
It's that week. The first weekend in November. The weekend that is always right around my birthday. That for many years I spent in sorrow. But, man, when we win, it is a joyous birthday. Joyous birthday. For all of you who don't know, my birthday is on the 7th. And so it always falls right here at my birthday playing Alabama. So, man, when we beat Alabama, it's the best birthday gift. I mean, period. What's everybody? I see Ryan's in here. Tyler Townsend's in here. Nurse Court's in here. What's up, everybody? Yeah, man, got the crew in here tonight.
Look what Ryan said. He said, I just made the comment that if it wasn't for fake trees, nobody would have Christmas decorations up before Thanksgiving.
It's true. This has, I mean, let's clarify, Zach. This has literally been up since last Christmas. It has not come down.
It's not come down.
It has not come. It has been up year round.
Yep.
Our dad.
LSU plays sports year round.
Correct. This is our good luck charm, right? And our dad is a Christmas fanatic. We have a themed tree, he does. But growing up, obviously, we've got a LSU tree, a snowman tree, a candy cane tree, a Jesus tree, of course, a family tree, of this tree, of that tree, you name it, we've got it. There's probably like 13 Christmas trees up in our house every Christmas. It's a Christmas wonderland at the Lee House. But this one has stayed up year-round to focus on the baseball season, to be the good luck charm for the baseball season. And we saw how that turned out. So we had to keep it up. I mean, you had to keep it up for the football season. So we'll see what magic that this tree can conjure up tomorrow.
Hey, Reagan, we got some comments. Ryan said, happy birthday, Reagan.
Appreciate it.
Miss Nurse Court said, my birthday is the 5th. Last year was stellar. Yeah, I'm sure that was a great birthday gift. Mario has a question. I told him, hey, send us hashtag tell me TA. We will for sure get to it. Ryan wishing Miss Court a happy birthday. Robert RP is in here as well. Good to have RP in here. He said, I always put my Christmas tree up after Halloween.
So it's already up.
That's pretty good, RP, but you can't beat Dad because it stays up year round.
I mean, man.
At least the LSU one does. It's always up. It's always up.
Yeah, we it's Christmas Wonderland, in Winter Wonderland, whatever you
You
want
think
to
it's a
call it.
forest when you walk into this house?
For real, for real. I mean, it is Christmas slaps you in the face when you walk in. So Zach, it is that week. Obviously, I'm pumped to talk about it. Preview that. We'll give you our tools for triumph. We will also look around college football, and we will give you our thoughts on the weekend. But I mean, really, who cares? I mean, the biggest game is the Tigers versus Tuscaloosa. That's
Game
the
day,
biggest.
baby.
I'm kidding. Of course, we'll give you a around the loop in college football world. We'll give you all our thoughts across the board here. Man, I love this week, but I hate this week, Zach. I love it, but I hate it. I mean, it is a love-hate relationship without question. So, I don't even want to say their name. We got to play Alabama this week. And it's good. It's a huge matchup, Zach. I mean, your season is on the line here. The SEC West is on the line. I mean, playoff implications, Heisman implications. I mean, a lot can transpire if LSU is successful this weekend. A lot.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to cover, but let's get your initial thoughts here, Zach, on the game, and then we'll kind of dive into it for that. But your initial thoughts, how do you feel? What are you looking at right off the bat?
Man, I got to be honest with you, and I said this on the show on Monday. I know you weren't able to join us because McKenna wasn't feeling well, but I said this on the show Monday. I'm feeling confident. I feel confident about it. You know, in a lot, man, it's such a difference from years in the past, right? Because years in the past, you're like you pretty much chalked up the Bama game as a loss. Like it was just like, okay, we know we're gonna lose to Bama, moving on. But this year, man, I mean, last year, you know, it felt like you could win the game. This year, it really feels like you can win the game. I would say even more so than last year. You know, last year they had Bryce Young, and they had a good defense, and you know they had more playmakers around them. And offensively, you know, you look at their offense and you're like, okay, you know, with our offense versus their defense and their offense versus our defense. As I mentioned last week, it's strength on strength and it's weakness on weakness. And last time we saw that against Auburn, it turned out really good for the Tigers. And again, by no means am I saying that this game is going to be the same outcome as the Auburn game was. But I like our chances with the matchups that we have. It's going to be very interesting to see, you know, obviously what LSU does schematically and personnel wise in the secondary. Obviously, Downs Alexander. I'm very interested to see who steps up. You know, I mentioned a few episodes ago, right? You asked me, Reagan, that if, you know, who do you think steps up and takes Zai's place? And I said Denver. Obviously, then we weren't really too sure if he'd be back or not. Obviously, it's official now. He's not going to be playing, nor is Deuce Chestnut. So big blow for the Tigers. But, you know, it's going to give an opportunity for a young guy to come in and make a huge, huge impact in this game. There's been times in the past few years where guys have had to step up, defensive backs have had to step up and play and have been thrown into the fire. And we've seen, for the most part, those young guys excel. You know, I think guys like Rashard Robinson and Greedy Williams and, you know, just guys like that. That's just a couple to mention. So it's going to be interesting to see that matchup, obviously. You know, there's been a lot of talk about obviously LSU playing the best. This is going to be the best defense they've seen all year, potentially, you know, the best defense that they will face all season, including the postseason, potentially. And so there's been a lot of talk about that and the potential of them slowing down LSU's offense. I don't think that is going to be the case. I mean, do they get a couple stops here and there? Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be, obviously, LSU. I don't expect LSU to score every single drive, right?
Sure.
But do I expect LSU to move the ball up in the field, up and down the field pretty well? Yes. And I think this is a huge opportunity for the defense to make a massive statement to the national media and to and to college football fans all around, obviously, because this is going to be the most watched game tomorrow night. And so the defense has an opportunity to right all of their wrongs from the first half of the season, right? Obviously, it's been bad. Everybody knows that. Everybody talks about it. The nation knows it. The national media knows it. And so but they've been progressing, right? They've been progressing. And I understand you're down a couple of people. I mentioned last week, Reagan, I think you would agree with me. I really don't think the Mekhi Wingo injury is as big as some people are making it out to be. I really don't. Jordan Jefferson has been playing better than Mekhi and Mason Smith, and that's no that's no shot at those two guys. They're both phenomenal players, but Jordan Jefferson has been your best defensive lineman on the interior. So yeah,
team right now.
He's been the highest graded one. So I have confidence in the LSU defensive line. They're going up against an Alabama offensive line that has extremely struggled. They lead the SEC in sacks allowed, I believe, outside of I think they lead the SEC in sacks allowed. Maybe Vanderbilt or some other teams are up there, but I'm pretty sure they're at least top 3 in sacks allowed. So LSU is going to have a big opportunity to wreak havoc in the backfield and make Jalen Milroe's day miserable for them. So all those things are really key storylines coming into this game. I'll say this, Reagan. I think a storyline that honestly hasn't been hit on a whole lot is special teams. I mean, this is a 3.5 point spread. Vegas is predicting this to be an extremely tightly contested ball game, that it potentially could come down to a field goal to win it. And that makes me a little nervous because I think Bama has the edge in special teams. I really do. They've got a phenomenal punter. Obviously, Will Reichert is the leader in the SEC in points because he's been an absolute phenomenal kicker of all time. He's been a phenomenal kicker for Alabama. It's completely opposite of what we've seen in the past with Alabama special teams. Kool-Aid McKinstry is dynamic back there. He's had some struggles here recently, but he's a dynamic playmaker that's receiving punts. LSU's got to be careful. In special teams, and LSU has had a lot better success this year with the special teams unit. But I think you have to give Alabama the edge. So you're going to have to start looking at the matchups, right? You look at LSU's offense versus Alabama's defense. I give the edge there to LSU's offense. You look at Alabama's offense versus LSU's defense. I give the edge there to Alabama's offense, and it's a slight edge, right? I would say the margin between LSU's offense and Alabama's defense is wider than the margin of Alabama's offense versus LSU's defense. Now, I mean, we'll see how everything plays out on Saturday night, but that's just my opinion. And then I think you give the edge to Alabama in special teams. I think you obviously give the edge to them in environment, with it being at home at night in Tuscaloosa. They're playing with a chip on their shoulder because of last season. So it's going to be an extremely tightly contested ball game, in my opinion. I think it's going to go down to the wire, but Reagan, I'm super excited about it. I'm excited for the opportunity that LSU has to potentially have a firm grasp on the SEC West. I'm especially interested in the opportunity that Jaden has in solidifying his the favorite to be the Heisman, to win the Heisman potentially in this game. So there's a lot of very interesting storylines, not just on the field, but off the field as well. And obviously the results of this game are going to play a major factor in some storylines later on down the season. So I'm excited, Reagan. I'm pumped. I'm working tomorrow. I have to go to work tomorrow, so I'll be on the job for pretty much the whole day, and then I'm going to luckily be off in time to come back and watch the show and enjoy it with you. Obviously, you're in town. That's why you're in the guest bedroom with the LSU tree back there. So it's going to be extremely fun to get to watch, with you and Dad, and Bobby's potentially coming over for some of y'all that don't remember Bobby. Bobby was our producer for a little while, running everything in the background, and he's planning on coming over. So I'm pumped, Reagan. I'm really excited. I really hope LSU can pull off the win in Tuscaloosa. And man, it seems like if they can win this game, it would right a lot of the wrongs from the first half of the season with the defense and with the, obviously the early loss to Florida State and the heartbreaking loss to Ole Miss. If you win this game, those are in a very, they're in the rearview mirror, the very distant rearview mirror. So, Reagan, I'm looking forward to it. What do you think so far?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's kind of odd. It feels like it's lining up just like it was last year. You lose to Florida State, and then you have a really bad loss to Tennessee, and then you right that ship with a good win over Ole Miss and over Alabama last year, puts you right in the playoff mix, puts you into the SEC championship. Obviously, we kind of stumbled at the end of the year and kind of dropped the ball for that opportunity. But here's the difference. Which, well, let me back up a little bit. In the same way, we lost to Florida this year, Florida State.
Yeah,
we lost to Ole Miss, and then you get a key win against a ranked opponent, Missouri, on the road. You get if you can get another win here in Alabama, like the same situation is kind of unfolding. You're playing much better. Your defense seems to have found somewhat of an identity, have carved out their roles, brought Pete Jenkins in, playing better. If you find a way to win in Tuscaloosa, it puts you right back where you want to be. And the goal for the season, right? Make the playoffs, compete for an SEC championship, compete for a national championship. And man, it's crazy because the betting line is smaller than it was last year. Bama was a bigger favorite last year than they are this year. And I think part of that has to do with, number one, they don't have Bryce Young. Y'all, we beat Bryce Young last year.
Yep.
We beat the team with Bryce Young. Now, the receivers, in my opinion, last year and this year still haven't been to what Alabama is used to. Julio Jones, Jerry Jeudy, right? The cream of the crop, Jameson Williams, and all those guys that
Devontae Smith
that would just tear defenses apart. Burton and Bond are kind of their guys, and they can do damage, but they aren't doing damage like they normally are. And Milroe definitely isn't Bryce Young. So with our offense as dynamic as it is, but at the same time, your defense is definitely weaker than it was last year when you played Alabama. Number one, overall, just your defense isn't as good. Number two, now you've added all these injuries into the mix, especially in the secondary. There's a lot of question marks. It feels like we can answer this Saturday. It feels like the defense has kind of found their identity and who they are. But here's a real test, right? You haven't been really, really, really tested since Ole Miss. Missouri was a test, but you still allowed a lot of points, and your offense kind of kept you in that game. Ultimately, your defense did make some plays to win that game. The Major Burns pick six. But, if we're going to be real, we're going to Tuscaloosa. We're playing Alabama. It is the test, right? It's the really found themselves, or have we just been playing lesser opponents? And like you said about the Auburn game, it's comparable in the fact that it was strength on strength, weakness on weakness. Number one, Bama's defense is better than Auburn's. Number two,
Yeah.
Bama's offense is better than Auburn's.
Correct.
And they're playing in Tuscaloosa, so I don't think we're going to see the same result. Although I think we can still win. I'm confident we can. If your defense can get enough stops, maybe you tip a ball in the air. A ball is batted at the line. It pops up in the air, and a defender is able to pick it off a batted ball. Maybe a ball gets punched loose and you recover it. Extra possessions, 1 to 2 stops, and this game can get really, really interesting for LSU. Because your offense, in my opinion, can drop 35 on just about any team, any night. Any given night, I think we can drop 35. I think Alabama's defense is the best defense you're going to play all year. I still don't think they're good enough to contain our offense. I just don't see that. Let's think about it from last year's perspective. You have a guy in Brian Branch, their safety, who is now playing in the big leagues, right, for the Detroit Lions. Now back there at safety is true freshman Caleb Downs, who is a stud, but Caleb Downs ain't Brian Branch last year. And you beat Alabama last year. And your offense wasn't as dynamic last year. This year, it's a lot more dynamic, and Alabama's secondary isn't as veteran as it was last year. To me, I think we're going to be able to throw the ball like we want to, like we normally do. And I think our offensive line has played phenomenal all year. I think Logan Diggs can still move the ball. And I think we are going to have success all night offensively. Are we going to score every possession? No, because this is the best defense you've faced. So there are going to be some stops. How many of those stops do you allow happen? And how many stops can you get on defense? Like I think time of possession and series that you have, right, possessions that you have are extremely crucial in this game. If LSU can limit the amount of time that the defense is on the field and elevate the time that Jaden Daniels and this offense is on the field, it's going to be really, really good for LSU. Really good for LSU. Because I don't think Alabama's offense can keep up with what our offense can do. Here's what worries me, though. What worries me about the game. Let's say the offense maybe is a little bit off. It's a big environment, big moment. They're not playing the way they always do, and they get a couple stops. They stop us a few times, and our defense is obviously weak. The secondary is obviously weak. We are not very good at stopping the run, and our secondary is weak right now. If they stop us a few times and then establish the run game with Roy Dale Williams and Jace McClellan, this team, Jalen Milroe, Isaiah Bond, and Burton, are going to hook up on a few, deep shots. Because, it's their bread and butter. It is their knockout punch. You saw it with Tennessee last week. Yep. Tennessee comes out and is just gassing Alabama's defense. So, to me, our offense is a lot better than Tennessee's offense. Our quarterback is a lot better than Joe Milton. We can do the same thing. We can know the absolute same thing. But if we're off a little bit and they're able to stop us a few times, the first possession of that Alabama had against Tennessee, what did they do? They hand the ball off to Jace McClellan. He rips off a big run. What happens next play? Play action and a bomb shot to the end zone for over 40-yard plus touchdown, and they were off to the races, right? That's what worries me. If our defense is just atrocious, and it's like the Ole Miss game all over again, man, I'm going to be worried.
Yeah.
I'm going to be worried because I feel like they will be able to possess the ball and keep the ball out of our offense's hands. And if they limit our possessions and limit the time our offense is on the field, take away a few possessions, the game could get ugly, in my opinion. So the biggest thing to me is amount of possessions, time of possession. But man, if your offense is clicking like it has been, and your defense can get you a couple stops like they did against Missouri in the second half, man, I'm really confident in this game. I really am. I really, really am. And that's kind of my initial thoughts, my instant reaction. So, Zach, with our instant reactions kind of out of the way, I think there's two things we need to talk about now. Two things we need to talk about in terms of preview. Number one, we need to talk about marquee matchups within the game.
Yep.
And number two, we've alluded to it a little bit already, but number two, we need to talk about Jade Daniels and the Heisman potential of this game and the implications of it. So, what is the matchup position group wise that is going to be crucial in this game for you?
I think on both sides of the ball, it's got to be the receivers versus the DBs. Obviously, I'll mention it briefly because we've mentioned it plenty of times enough, and obviously it's been mentioned on all the other platforms. I believe Sage Ryan is going to be the corner opposite of Jermaine Burton, guarding Jermaine Burton. So who's going to be the guy guarding Isaiah Bond? Who's going to be the guys guarding Kobe Prentice? Those are going to be the biggest matchups. I mean, Sage Ryan on Burton, whoever the young cornerback is on Isaiah Bond, whoever the young cornerback is on Kobe Prentice. Those are going to be massive matchups, right? For obvious reasons we've already stated plenty. On the opposite side of the ball, you've got two really good corners that Alabama has in Arnold and Kool-Aid. They're really good. Both of those guys are really good DBs.
Yeah.
How much can they limit Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas?
Yep.
I think with the combination of Kool-Aid and probably some bracketing, I mean, unless Kool-Aid just locks Malik down, which I don't think you're going to completely shut down Malik Neighbors.
No.
I don't care who you are. If they if they have Kool-Aid and they bracket Malik Neighbors, I'd really like Brian Thomas's matchup versus Arnold. I'm assuming that those are the match. I'm assuming that's who they line up against, right?
Yeah.
So
Kyron, man.
Don't sleep on Kyron. Kyron has had he's had a couple of good games. He's stringed together a couple of good games. He could play a major factor. Mason Taylor could play a major factor in this game as well. If they are so focused on stopping and guarding Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas, guys like Kyron Lacey and Mason Taylor are going to have to take massive steps ups in this game. So, those are key matchups. What does LSU do defensively to try and slow down those Bama receivers with a lack of experience on the back end of LSU's defense? And can Alabama's defense get some stops against this elite receiver group? I think those are the biggest matchups by far. I'm interested to see what LSU's defensive line, obviously without Mekhi Wingo, does against Alabama's offensive line. I mentioned that already. They're going to have to get pressure. They're going to have to get pressure, and you're going to have to also contain, right? You're going to have to get pressure up the middle, and you're going to have to contain on the outsides. Because obviously Jalen Milroe, while he hasn't run it a whole lot recently, we know what he can do with his feet. We saw it early on in the season. He's extremely athletic. He's fast. He is an elite runner. And so you're going to have to be able to contain him. And I think LSU has the opportunity to do that with Alabama's offensive line.
Yeah, and speaking of the whole Jalen Milroe running thing, I've seen already people talking about spy Harold Perkins, spy Harold Perkins, spy Harold Perkins. Yes, but like not every down, right?
Yeah.
Like don't do what you did earlier in the season and pull him from what he has been doing, and change his role once again. Leave him in the nickel Sam. Let him do what he's been doing. He's been doing really well at it. Been playing great. Yeah. Been playing really great. In a third down situation, when it's maybe a little bit third and long, and you don't want the DBs to turn their back to Jalen Milroe and then him just pick the ball up and take off and, rip off a 20-yard run because everyone's eyes were downfield. Yeah, you can spy Harold Perkins on downs like that when he's going to be dangerous, when he's going to try and extend the play and make something happen. That's when you use Harold Perkins in that way. But like just saying, oh, spy him the whole game, like that's just ignorant. Like, and I'm not trying to be rude, but like that's just ignorant. That would be really, really silly to do, and it would cost you a lot. Because Jalen hasn't been intentionally running with him a lot. Like the way they have set up their offense is a very traditional looking offense. They want to run the ball and then run play action and take a deep shot. Like it's not what we've seen normally from Alabama with in the past. It is a very
spread offense,
right.
Running gun and RPO, stuff like that.
I mean, we're not talking like I formation type traditional, but it's definitely a lot more like they're not running RPOs and this new form of triple option, which LSU runs a lot of. So if you're spying him every down, you're almost wasting him. You are doing what you would be doing what you did in Florida State game with him. You would essentially coach him out of the game. So I wanted to address that real quick. Key matchups for me. The key matchups for me, and I feel like this is every LSU Alabama game, and this applies to both sides of the ball. It is the line of scrimmage. It is the line of scrimmage. We can talk about the and how weak it is and the threat downfield. But if your defensive line is getting pressure and getting after Jalen Milroe with an offensive line in Alabama that has allowed so many sacks, if you've watched Alabama's games, when they are getting home to Jalen Milroe, it throws him off. He gets uncomfortable. He makes bad decisions. He gets real happy feet in the pocket. You have got to get pressure against him. And if you are constantly bringing pressure against him, then the deep shots are going to be less of a threat because he is a little jittery in the pocket when he's getting pressure. I expect LSU to get home. Everybody's been getting home against Alabama. And LSU is not one of the best teams in the SEC in terms.
Reagan, are you still there?
Are we back?
You're there.
But you've got to be getting home against Jalen Milroe. There's no excuse not to. There is no excuse not to. So I expect, if you want my opinion on, people are going to ask, I've already saw, is Omar Spates, should he be playing? Is this and this? If you want my opinion on personnel for this game, I think Braden Swinson should be playing a lot of snaps. A lot of snaps.
Yeah.
He has been one of your better guys coming off the edge and bringing pressure. I think Braden Swinson should see a lot of snaps this game. And that's just my opinion. Do we see it? I don't know. Should we see it? I think we should. On the flip side, LSU's offensive line against the defensive line of Alabama. If LSU establishes a run game with Logan Diggs, this applies not only with the Alabama game, but every game. If they establish a run with Logan Diggs, like they have quite often, our offense is going to open up even more. If they want to bracket coverage Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas with two safeties back, run it down their stinking throat until they bring the safeties back down. And then guess what? You burn the top off of them. Like, you have the weapons to create that mismatch. I don't know if it's really a mismatch, but create them to put them in that situation. Oh, well, we better make sure we're taking care of BT and Malik, so let's keep two safeties back, hand the ball off, because your offensive line has been doing the job all year long. And, man, I was watching a show the other day, and I can't remember who it was. I think it was the Brian Kelly press conference, actually. Somebody brought up Garrett Dellinger, and nobody's talking about Garrett Dellinger enough. What him and Will Campbell have been doing on the left side, phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Yep.
So the line of scrimmage to me is crucial to this game. If you're bringing pressure, you're going to throw Milroe off. And therefore, they're not going to get into a rhythm of running the ball, running the play action, taking the deep shot. Rather, you have him jittery and happy foot, and he's going to make mistakes. That's what he did against Texas. Some of his one of the interceptions that happened against Texas happened because he got happy foot and nervous in the pocket, misread, and threw an interception.
Yep.
Like, if you're creating that pressure and then it in turn creates a turnover, like, man, if you win the turnover battle in this, it's going to be huge. So, to me, the line is so important on both sides. That's my marquee matchup. All right, Zach. I mean, we're deep in here. Really quick, what is the implication Heisman-wise, Zach, for Jaden? I'll let you answer this.
I think you kind of have to see. I think you have to see two things. All right, you have to see a win, and you have to see B, an inflated stat line. Right. LSU needs to win. Right. If you suffer 3 losses, I think Jaden's Heisman potential. I would even go as far as saying being in New York. Well, I don't know about going that far, but
it would depend on
his potential to win the Heisman. It would really depend on how the game played out, but and honestly the rest of the opponents, but because he could have an elite game, and LSU's defense is just so bad that they give up an absurd amount of points, and LSU still loses. Right? I mean, he could put up over 300 yards, almost 100 yards rushing, and 4 touchdowns, and LSU still lose because of the defense. But I believe a win is massive in the implications for Jaden Daniels to potentially win the Heisman. Because I think if LSU wins, even if Jaden doesn't have extremely gaudy numbers, that if he's got a little over 300 passing yards, 50 yards rushing, and 3 total touchdowns, I still think they would put him atop of the Heisman as a Heisman front runner. I'm saying, if he's over 300 yards, but he's not pushing 400, he's not over 400, if it's a little bit less than what we've been seeing, but LSU still wins, I think he's going to be the Heisman front runner coming out of the win going into next week. But so win, secondly, inflated stats. So if he does go for over, near 400 yards passing and, near 100 yards rushing, and he's over 400, near 500 yards of total offense himself, and they win, he might lock it up. Like, for real. Like, if potentially. I don't know. That's my opinion. If he pushes 500 yards or goes over 500 yards and 4 touchdowns, 5 touchdowns, and LSU wins, I think he all but locks up the Heisman. Yeah. I'm just being honest. That's what I think.
He's front runner, no question.
He would be front runner, no doubt, coming out of the weekend. he could even have that stat line and lose, and still be near the top of the Heisman. But I think the combination of winning the game as well as an inflated stat line, I believe that would all but solidify the Heisman for him. All right, guys. Reagan, I think, is frozen, and that's okay. We've I think wrapped up everything that we need to cover in this segment. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to hit all of your comments. The comments have been absolutely popping tonight. We appreciate all of y'all being in here and supporting us and sending all the comments. So we'll be back right after this.
5-Star Hero, your intro and outro music for the Tigers Avenue show. They ain't ready for that LSU. Go check out all his other music on all the major platforms. Don't forget to follow him on Instagram at Saints Anthem and at Twitter at One Nation Doty. Don't forget to check out his 5-Star Hero, your intro and outro. 5-Star Hero, your intro and outro music for the Tigers Avenue show. They ain't ready for that LSU. Go check out all his other music on all the major platforms. Don't forget to follow him on Instagram at Saints Anthem and at Twitter at One Nation Doty. Don't forget to check out his Facebook page for all his Saints and LSU merchandise. Can't get any better than Sarah Klein Stevens, attorney at law. Her firm focuses on the needs of the elderly and maintaining their dignity throughout the process. Here for you, here for your family. Sarah Klein Stevens, attorney at law.
Right back in it here in the Tigers Avenue. There's lots of comments, Zach. So I guess you can filter through those and important ones and whatnot, and we'll address them.
Yeah, for sure. I think we had a little bit of a internet issue there a little bit, but I think we're both good now. I'm not sure if it was you or me or both. Who knows? But we're back now.
Internet, so
yeah. No, I'm running my hotspot. I can't run the internet anymore. I'm running the hotspot. All right. So we've actually got some, at least people I haven't seen in here before. So we've got Addie B in here. First time I've seen her join us. Appreciate her joining us. She says, "Go Tigers!" In 24 hours from now, we will be celebrating. Mario Collada, we have seen Mario in here before. Appreciate him being back with us. He said, "Tell me, TA, what time are we going to know the Florida game time? Will it be on Sunday?" I'm not honestly sure. If it's not this weekend, I would imagine it would be early next week. No, he's saying will we know Sunday of the start time.
They always release them 2 weeks ahead, like on the Monday.
Yeah. Well, they haven't released it yet. So I would imagine they would release it this upcoming Monday. So we'll see. Nurse Court says, "Does Texas A&M take Ole Miss out of contention?" Nurse, we will get to that. We will get to that in the last segment. Yeah. But that is a great question that you asked. Miss Peggy's in here. Appreciate her joining us. She said, "I wish the game was already over." I'm assuming that's because of like nervousness and everything. You're like, I just wish it was over and I could know the result and everything. But I mean, I want to see it. I'm excited for it to be here. Addie, as we mentioned,
the buildup is always,
yeah, of course. Addie, as we mentioned, she said, hashtag tell me TA, do you think Spate should be starting? Yes, I do.
I agree.
Spates has, he started a little slow early on the season, and we had to remember though he was banged up. He missed some time with the injury, and of course Whitweeks filled in and he played phenomenally. I think Whitweeks is going to be an amazing LSU linebacker, one of the greats in the line of LSU linebackers. But I think you want the experience, and Omar's been playing really good. He's been playing really good. And I think, and especially in a game like this, you want the experience. So I do believe he should be starting. Nurse said Matt House is better have the game of his life. LOL. I agree.
So last year we were singing Matt's praises.
Yeah.
This year people been, and I'm not trying to point you out, Nurse Court, by no means. But, man, people have been bashing him. I don't think it's Matt House. I think it's a personnel issue.
It is a personnel issue. I agree.
I think it is Matt House. Man, last year we had the guy, and it was Matt was
It
great.
was good. I agree with you. Takaj, I don't think I've seen Takaj in here before. Maybe he's watched before, but I don't think I've seen him comment. Maybe he has. I don't know. He said the freshman DBs are going to bring back that DB moniker. Mark my words. I hope so. I hope so. Let's see. Tiger Mania is in here with us. Appreciate
up,
you joining
Mania?
us. Tiger Mania. I don't think I've seen him in here before. He said, "Hey y'all, how we feeling about the game?" Of course, gave our opinion. Tyler Townsend, what's up, guys? Tiger Mania also said, I put my hype video out for the game. I got to see that. Tiger Mania, if you're still in here watching, please tag us. Please tag us in the hype video. I would love to see that. As you know, I'm big on hype videos myself. So would love to see that. I didn't do them for Bama. I only mainly do them for, like championship games and obviously ahead of the season. I'm going to have to I might have to do an LSU women's hype video or something, throw something together soon because they play on Monday.
For real.
Anders is in here. Our father, he said 31-27 LSU. 31-27 LSU. That's his prediction. Man, there's so many comments in here. Let's see. Let's see. Ryan is in here with us. Always support. Always appreciate Ryan's support. He's been a loyal follower of us. He said this game is like a playoff game, except without the win or go home scenario.
Ryan,
I mean, yeah. I mean, it really is. He said, Pink Jigga knows Saban very well, and vice versa.
Ryan, I love you to death, but I sure hope you're not one of those guys that says the 4-team playoff should remain because we have playoff games all year. I don't understand the idea of not liking an expanded playoff. I don't get that idea at all. We can talk about that in another show, but my gosh, who doesn't want more meaningful postseason play?
I agree. Ryan also said LSU will have to win the turnover margin, time of possession, third and fourth down conversions, and red zone efficiency in order to win. I mean, if you win all of those phases, yeah, you win the ball game.
You win the ball game.
John Bruni in here with us. Appreciate you joining us, John. He said, "Go Tigers." Man, I feel like we need a whole segment just to address all the comments. Tyler Towns is in here. He said 38-24 LSU. Yeah, it's popping tonight. Well, I mean, you would expect it with LSU obviously going to Tuscaloosa playing Bama. So Reagan, we've gave so much insight into the game and gone into details about matchups and what we feel like needs to, how the game's going to go and whatnot. We need to give our TA tools for success, or excuse me, TA tools for triumph, and then we need to give a prediction here before we move on to end the show and discuss some other games, other big matchups around college football. Reagan, why don't you start with your TA tools for triumph and your prediction?
So I have already mentioned this already, so I'll give it to you really brief. The biggest key to this game to me is time of possession for the LSU offense. You are really, really good offensively. You're not so good defensively. If you're keeping the defense off the field and you're keeping the offense on the field, you're going to see a lot of success in this game. And to me, time of possession is the biggest key to this game. And my prediction, LSU. I'll take LSU. I think it is a high-scoring game. I will take LSU 41-38.
Wow, that is a very high scoring game, especially considering it's LSU Bama, where we've seen so many great defensive battles.
I don't want it to be that way because that normally means it's really nail biting when it's high scoring like that. But that's how I feel like it's going to play out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, for me, I'll go on the opposite side of the ball. You mentioned the offense, time possession. For me, and you discussed it as well, Reagan. For me, one of the biggest TA tools for triumph is you've got to be able to force turnovers. You've got to be able to steal a possession or two for your defense and give extra possessions to your offense if you want to be able to win this game. And so you mentioned, a tipped ball that gets intercepted, a punch out a punch out fumble that gets recovered. I think LSU would have a major majorly high percentage to win this game if you're able to force like 2 turnovers. If you're able to get 2 turnovers in this game and your offense doesn't turn the ball over, like you're winning. Like I believe you're winning the game. So for me, that's my TA tool for triumph. You mentioned the time possession. I agree. There's so many more we can mention, but we've hit on just about everything here. So you said LSU 41-38. Look, I'm gonna stick to my gun. I'm gonna stick to my guns. Okay, Reagan. And I don't like doing this, but at the beginning of the season, I said LSU would be 9-3 with losses to Florida State, Ole Miss, and Alabama. Okay, and they've lost to Florida State, they've lost to Ole Miss, and I'm gonna stick to my guns. I don't want to do it, guys. I'm an LSU fan. My heart and soul wants to pick LSU. It wants to do it. Okay, but I believe with it being in Tuscaloosa, Alabama has the advantage on offense. Alabama has the advantage on special teams. They have the home field advantage. They have the chip on their shoulder from last year. There's just so many when you look at who wins in this category, who wins in these matchups. I think Alabama outweighs LSU. And I hate to do it, but I think Bama wins 35-32. Gosh, I hate doing that, man. I hate picking Bama. I know. I need to hold on. I know. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm 100% wrong. I hope I'm wrong. And look, if they prove me wrong tomorrow night, I will repent. I will repent. All right, let's get to a couple more comments, Reagan, then we'll go around college football. Ryan's said JD, man, I don't even know how to say this. JD5 for Heisman. JD5 will show off his legs. Will win him the Heisman in this game. JD5 will show off his leg. Will win the Heisman in the game. Yeah, I mean, I think if he busts a couple long runs and is able to score a touchdown or 2 rushing and is near 75 to 100 yards rushing, I mean that could win him the Heisman, very much so. Tyler Townsend said 38-24 LSU. Ryan said another tool for Trump, TA tool for Trump with the special teams needs to be on point. Yeah, we mentioned it, Ryan, 100%. This game could come down to the special teams. And I mentioned I think Alabama has an edge there, but you do like what you have. You do like what you have with this special teams unit. Caleb Jackson's looked really good on kick returns. Punt returns hasn't been great, but you've been safe back there. And obviously Damian Ramos has also looked pretty good. He's continued to be steady and consistent. Not flashy, but steady and consistent. Ryan said, boo this man with a bunch of tomatoes. So there's that. All right. We need to move on to around college football. Reagan, some big matchups this weekend. Obviously, LSU and Bama being the biggest. But what is some games going on this weekend that you're really interested in, that you're going to focus on? Maybe watch before the LSU Bama game.
Yeah,
if you're still with us.
Can you hear me? Are we there?
Barely. Well, you're back now. Go ahead. Go quick. Go quickly.
Okay. Texas A&M, Ole Miss, and Washington and USC. I would love as much as I USC. I would love to watch USC beat Washington and take Michael Penix, take a big hit at his Heisman candidacy.
Yeah. That obviously that's a big matchup. That game will be at 6:30, so it'll be going on during the LSU game. Washington, a 3-point favorite. I like Washington in this game. I just think USC. I just think their defense
they're not good.
Absolutely atrocious. They're not good. I don't think their defense is going to be able to stop Washington's offense, and I don't think USC is going to be able to score enough on Washington's defense to be able to win the game. It would make it interesting if USC won, but I think ultimately Washington wins that game. You mentioned Texas A&M, Ole Miss. I think that this will be a close game that Ole Miss pulls out.
Yeah.
And you're going to be really looking at next week. Obviously, if LSU wins the Bama game, people are going to be watching Ole Miss closely. LSU fans will be specifically. So I think the big matchup for Ole Miss is obviously next week versus Georgia. I will say this, speaking of Georgia, Missouri travels to Georgia. Do you give Missouri a shot in this game, Reagan? I do. I'm going to be honest. I do.
I agree.
And I think it's a 15.5-point spread. I think Missouri covers.
It's a 15.5 spread?
Yep, 15.5-point spread, Georgia.
Yeah.
I think Missouri covers.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. If Georgia goes out there and they absolutely dominate, they've looked really good here recently, Reagan. I mean, Georgia has looked dominant recently. And if they go out and they do the same thing versus Missouri, I'm going to be looking going, oh, crap.
Yeah.
Oh, crap.
For sure.
Notre Dame travels to Clemson. I think Notre Dame wins that game. It's close, but I think Clemson will give them fits. Any opinion there?
My opinion is that it's going to be a boring game to watch. I mean,
probably.
Clemson's not that great. Who cares about Notre Dame? Man.
Oklahoma traveling to Oklahoma State. Obviously, Oklahoma took the big loss to Kansas this past week. Do they get things right against on the road against Oklahoma State?
Man, I love the Bedlam rivalry. I love that rivalry. I don't know why. I've always loved that. The name of it is awesome, Bedlam. But yeah, I do think cool. Oklahoma State, I don't think is that great of a team. I think Oklahoma State's not as good as Kansas is, so I do think Oklahoma wins.
Outside of that, I mean, just specifically talking about the SEC, obviously we're gonna be paying close attention to Texas A&M, Ole Miss, Florida playing Arkansas. I would like to see Arkansas get back on the winning side of things. It's gonna be tough going to Gainesville. We'll see. Outside of that, there's really not a lot of interesting games in the SEC. Maybe you look at Kentucky, Mississippi State as an interesting game, but really LSU, Bama, and Ole Miss, Texas A&M is going to be the biggest matchups for SEC football this upcoming weekend. So I think that about covers it, Reagan. Hopefully LSU can come out victorious. Maybe you have some things interesting that happen in the top 10 with Washington, USC, and Missouri and Georgia. Maybe Clemson, Notre Dame. We'll see. Some big matchups there. Kansas State goes to Texas. We'll see if Texas. Yeah, that'll be a good game. We'll see if Texas can be able to pull off the win there. They're only a 3.5-point favorite. So there's some good ranked matchups this weekend, and they're very close spreads. They're very close spreads outside of the Georgia game, which again, like I said, I think Missouri would cover. But some big matchups in this game. Reagan, let's go ahead. Let's take our final break, and then when we get back, we will wrap up the show and maybe hit on a few more comments. We'll be back right after this.
Make sure you go follow us on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, all at Tigers Avenue. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to click off and hit that subscribe button at Tigers Avenue. We broadcast all of our shows live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter.
All right, we're back. So Ryan said he thinks Texas A&M is beating Ole Miss and that USC is beating Washington. Wow, that'd be really cool. It'd be really awesome if LSU won as well. You know, that'd be pretty cool. Yeah. He's got Missouri losing to Georgia in a close one because of lack of depth. I can't disagree with you there. Notre Dame in a rout and Oklahoma beating Little Brother by a touchdown. Reagan, it's been a good show.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate all you guys. It is the big week, the first weekend in November. It feels like it's the weekend we all wait for every year. It's the big rivalry game.
Yep.
And, man, it always has these implications, playoff implications, SEC West implications, Heisman, implications. It's a huge game. Let's hope the Tigers can go into T-Town, knock off the Tide, and put themselves right back into the conversation and in the mix of the college football playoffs, while also solidifying a Heisman run for JD5. Really looking forward to it. And we'll discuss all of it and recap everything that happens this weekend next time on the Tigers Avenue. We'll see you here on Monday. Five Star here, take us out. Peace.
That